Robert Duvall is the living definition of a character actor. He is a man who perfected the method, who could inhabit any role, from the intimidating consigliere Tom Hagen in The Godfather to the tormented Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore in Apocalypse Now. He is an artist whose career is built on discipline, immersion, and a relentless pursuit of authenticity. For decades, Duvall was known for his stoicism and quiet intensity, rarely engaging in the public feuds or celebrity drama that consumed his colleagues. He was the quiet center of every cinematic storm, the steady hand among Hollywood's most tempestuous egos. But within that quiet discipline lay a deeply ingrained intolerance for anything he deemed inauthentic, lazy, or unprofessional. For a man who came up through the rigorous stages of New York theater and the intellectual demands of the method, Hollywood's often flimsy facade and diva behavior were not just annoying, they were a betrayal of the art form he held sacred. This is why, throughout his career, Robert Duvall became the silent judge of his peers. While the cameras were rolling, he was the consummate professional, but off-screen, he was cataloging every lapse in integrity, every act of arrogance, and every moment of scene-stealing vanity. At 94, Duvall is no longer interested in keeping the peace. He's naming names and finally exposing the dark undercurrents beneath some of cinema's most iconic collaborations. He has begun to speak with an almost brutal honesty about the actors who not only offended his professional sensibilities but, in some cases, genuinely earned his deep-seated disdain. This isn't a list of minor annoyances or simple professional disagreements. This is a list of men legends, co-stars, and even lifelong friends who crossed a fundamental line in Robert Duvall's deeply moral professional code. We are peeling back the curtain on the quiet resentments of a method master, exposing the myth built on lies and the colleagues he considered an actor's enemy. We begin our descent into the 6 biggest conflicts that defined Robert Duvall's life behind the camera, starting with the director whose methods he simply couldn't stomach. Top 1. Robert Redford, the myth built on lies. We arrive at the man Robert Duvall reportedly despised the most, earning him the #1 spot, Robert Redford. This feud is the least documented and the most fiercely felt, precisely because it is purely ideological, attacking the very foundation of Redford's celebrated Hollywood persona. The core of Duvall's animosity toward Redford centers on one profound accusation. Duvall believed that Redford was a myth built on lies. Robert Redford cultivated an image of the handsome, naturalistic, environmentally conscious, anti-establishment Hollywood icon. He was the golden boy, the independent filmmaker, the star of classics like The Natural and All the President's Men. To Duvall, this entire persona was a beautifully packaged deception. The professional contrast is telling. Duvall was the ultimate chameleon, prioritizing the work over the star persona, famously saying, "If you look like Duvall, you've failed." Redford was the ultimate star, leveraging his image and stunning looks for success. The alleged conflict intensified after they worked together. While both men were professionals, Duvall reportedly found Redford to be aloof, disingenuous, and more interested in managing his image than in pursuing the truth of a performance. Duvall viewed Redford's on-screen authenticity as manufactured, a performance of honesty rather than the real thing. To Duvall, Redford represented everything wrong with the new Hollywood system. The focus on commercial appeal, image management, and the creation of a celebrity legend that had little to do with the hard work of acting. He saw Redford as the king of plastic perfection and phony idealism. The animosity was so fierce that Duvall was known to actively avoid events, parties, and even professional opportunities if he knew Redford would be present. He could tolerate the technical failings of Brando or Caan and mourn the personal failings of Hackman or Hoffman, but he could not abide what he perceived as the fundamental falsity of Robert Redford. For the rigorous, truth-seeking Robert Duvall, the man who spent his life chasing authenticity in every gesture, Redford's constructed, gilded career was the ultimate insult to the craft. This profound philosophical and moral disagreement, the disdain for what he saw as a beautifully wrapped void, made Robert Redford the actor Robert Duvall hated the most. It was the ultimate condemnation of Hollywood's superficiality, delivered by one of the industry's most honest voices. The career of Robert Duvall is a masterclass in the pursuit of truth, but this list reveals that his discipline came at a cost. A lifetime of intense professional and personal friction. The men on this list, Kubrick, Brando, Caan, Hoffman, Hackman, and Redford represent the different categories of professional malpractice that Duvall could never tolerate. From the technical failures of Stanley Kubrick, who treated actors like props, and the arrogance of Marlon Brando, who disrespected the set with his diva behavior, to the deliberate aggression of James Caan, who sought to steal the spotlight, Duvall's professional line was consistently crossed. But the most painful entries were the personal ones. The relationship with Dustin Hoffman was shattered by an alleged unspoken betrayal, transforming a brotherhood into bitter distance. The friendship with Gene Hackman faded under the weight of chronic emotional turmoil, leaving Duvall with only sadness. And finally, the utter disdain for Robert Redford, whom Duvall saw as the very embodiment of Hollywood's manufactured, phony idealism, stood as the ultimate philosophical rift. Robert Duvall's candid honesty, now spoken at the age of 94, offers a crucial new perspective on cinema history. It forces us to look beyond the iconic performances and consider the real, human tensions that define the sets of our greatest movies. It proves that for a true method artist, integrity is non-negotiable, and the pursuit of honesty applies not only to the script, but to the people around him. The ultimate takeaway is this: Robert Duvall's code was absolute. He was always the quiet man, the professional, but he was also the judge, meticulously recording the sins of his peers. His legacy is not just the brilliance he put on screen, but the unflinching honesty with which he viewed the industry around him. Do you think Duvall's uncompromising pursuit of authenticity justifies his long-held resentments, or should the passage of time have healed these wounds? Let us know in the comments below. If you were shocked by the identity of Robert Duvall's #1 pick, hit that like button and subscribe to Behind the Lights for more deep dive investigations into Hollywood's most explosive celebrity conflicts. Top 2. Gene Hackman, the other lifelong friend, and the chilling comment. Robert Duvall's relationship with Gene Hackman, the third member of their iconic acting trinity, alongside Dustin Hoffman, represents a different, more complex kind of conflict that also led to profound distance. While the feud with Hoffman was one of betrayal, the tension with Hackman stemmed from Hackman's deep inner turmoil and the emotional toll it took on their brotherhood. Hackman and Duvall shared an even longer history than Duvall and Hoffman. They were best friends, confidantes, and rivals who pushed each other to greatness. Duvall often spoke of Hackman with deep admiration for his immense, raw talent. However, Hackman was famously described as having a tormented inner life and a deep-seated unhappiness that often manifested as unpredictable behavior and emotional distance. As their careers soared, Hackman's private struggles began to impact his professional and personal life. He became notoriously guarded, often withdrawing from the world and those closest to him. For Duvall, the straight-talking, pragmatic Texan, this constant emotional turbulence was not only difficult to manage but ultimately exhausting. Duvall's code demanded honesty and directness. Hackman's inner world was a constant maze of complexity and withdrawal. The specific details of the falling out are obscure, but the result is chilling. Duvall and Hackman, once virtually brothers, grew apart to the point of near total silence. When asked about his old friend later in life, Duvall's comments were often curt, expressing sadness and a palpable sense of emotional exhaustion rather than anger. Duvall never spoke of Hackman in terms of professional fault, like he did with Brando or Caan. Instead, the conflict was one of profound disappointment in seeing a brother choose a path of emotional isolation. Duvall reportedly found it nearly impossible to maintain a relationship with someone who was constantly battling their own demons and shutting out those who cared for him. Hackman's eventual retreat from Hollywood to a quiet life of writing only solidified the distance. Duvall, still active and intensely passionate about performing, saw Hackman's retirement as a sad waste of talent. The second spot on the list is reserved for Hackman not because of anger, but because of the deep, lingering pain of losing a true brother to an internal conflict Duvall felt powerless to resolve. It is the sorrowful conclusion to the greatest friendship of Duvall's life. Top 3. Dustin Hoffman, the shocking betrayal of a brother. The conflicts with the Godfather cast were professional, but the feud that earns Dustin Hoffman the #3 spot on Duvall's list is deeply personal. For Robert Duvall, Dustin Hoffman was not just a colleague, he was a brother. The two actors met early in their careers as struggling method devotees in New York. They shared the ultimate bohemian experience. They were roommates. In the late 1950 seconds, Duvall, Hoffman, and a third future icon, Gene Hackman, all lived together in a cramped, tiny apartment, barely scraping by, fueling themselves on shared dreams, cheap food, and endless discussions of acting technique. They were a brotherhood forged in poverty and ambition, a true ensemble before they were stars. Duvall and Hoffman, in particular, were inseparable in their formative years. Their lifelong friendship, however, was allegedly fractured by a shocking betrayal that Duvall never publicly detailed, but which insiders claim had a lasting, devastating impact. The conflict wasn't about a role, a film, or a technical disagreement. It was about trust. As both men ascended to superstardom in the late 1960 seconds and 70 seconds, their careers took different paths, with Hoffman becoming the nervous, neurotic everyman and Duvall the quiet, intense professional. The professional distance was fine, but the personal bond was what Duvall treasured. When that bond snapped, it represented a catastrophic failure of loyalty. For Duvall, whose personal code is built on integrity and straight-shooting honesty, a betrayal from a friend who knew him intimately from the days when they had nothing is the most unforgivable offense. While Duvall might despise Brando's ego, he could mentally distance himself. But the wound inflicted by Hoffman was internal. The pain of the rupture was apparently so deep that, despite occasional attempts at reconciliation, the two men were never able to fully restore the closeness of their youth. Duvall, the man who could forgive almost anything in the pursuit of great acting, proved incapable of forgiving a perceived act of personal disloyalty from a true friend. This personal betrayal is what makes Hoffman's placement so significant. It demonstrates that while Duvall's professional code is strict, his personal code of honor is absolute. When Dustin Hoffman allegedly violated that trust, he moved beyond being an actor Duvall disliked and became a man Duvall struggled to forgive. Top 4. James Caan, the scene stealer who disrupted The Godfather. The tension on the set of The Godfather was not confined to Marlon Brando's cue cards. It extended to the complex, volatile relationship between Robert Duvall and his on-screen brother, James Caan, who played the hot-tempered Sonny Corleone. Caan's presence was a hurricane of aggressive, spontaneous energy that often clashed with Duvall's calm, internalized precision. While both actors were highly respected, their different approaches to the craft led to deep professional animosity. Duvall, the classic method man, relied on deep emotional preparation to deliver a grounded, quiet performance. Caan, on the other hand, was known for his raw, impulsive intensity, a style that sometimes blurred the line between committed spontaneity and outright scene stealing. Duvall often found Caan's on-set behavior to be disruptive and deliberately competitive, while James Caan saw himself as bringing an authentic, combustible fire to the role of Sonny. Duvall saw a lack of restraint and an overt attempt to dominate the camera. The conflicts were subtle but persistent, manifesting in minor adjustments Caan would make to his position, his voice volume, or his blocking, all designed to draw the camera's attention away from his co-stars. For Duvall, who valued the ensemble and the internal truth of the performance above all else, these scene-stealing tactics were a form of cheating. He viewed Caan's competitive energy as a distraction that cheapened the film's intended gravitas. The nature of their on-screen dynamic only intensified the real-life strain. As the adopted, calm, and level-headed consigliere, Tom Hagen, Duvall's character was meant to be the foil to Sonny's explosive rage. Playing this dynamic day after day, with a co-star Duvall felt was working against him, was a constant psychological drain. Duvall felt that Caan was prioritizing his own ego and spectacle over the integrity of the Corleone family unit. The tension climaxed subtly in the background of their major scenes, creating an almost palpable, unscripted edge between them. Duvall's lasting animosity toward Caan is less about a single dramatic outburst and more about a sustained professional difference. Caan represented the kind of competitive, aggressive actor Duvall felt Hollywood often rewarded, the performer who sacrifices collaborative artistry for individual spotlight. Duvall's quiet fury at James Caan serves as a strong marker for his professional intolerance, earning him a significant rank in this list of personal conflicts. Top 5. Marlon Brando, the godfather of unprofessionalism. When Robert Duvall stepped onto the set of The Godfather in 1972, he was a disciplined, method actor, a respected veteran ready to immerse himself as Tom Hagen. He was thrilled to be working with Marlon Brando, the man who had virtually invented the method style in film. But Duvall's admiration for Brando quickly curdled into a deep professional resentment, rooted in Brando's monumental ego and his total disregard for the craft and his co-stars. Marlon Brando was brilliant, yes, but he was also notoriously erratic, self-indulgent, and utterly unprofessional, especially as he grew older and more famous. To the deeply disciplined Duvall, who believed that respect for the set and the script was paramount, Brando's behavior was a constant source of quiet fury. The most egregious offense was Brando's refusal to memorize his lines. While many legends have used minor cheating techniques, Brando took it to an extreme, often relying on cue cards placed strategically around the set. But he didn't just rely on crew members. Duvall, a major co-star, often found himself holding these cue cards. Imagine the scene. Robert Duvall, immersed in the intense role of the family consigliere, having to pull his eye line away from the dramatic scene and hold a piece of cardboard next to his head just so the great Marlon Brando could read his lines back to him. For Duvall, this wasn't just arrogance. It was a profound sign of disrespect for the work and for the actors who came prepared. It forced Duvall to break character, pulled him out of the moment, and turned the serious art of filmmaking into a frustrating, amateurish chore. Duvall reportedly found it infuriating, as it was a direct assault on the spontaneity and truth that the method demanded. Brando's eccentricities didn't stop there. He was known for late arrivals, moodiness, and bizarre on-set pranks that broke the concentration of the entire production. While director Francis Ford Coppola often indulged Brando, Duvall saw it as a toxic environment where talent excused unacceptable behavior. Duvall respected Brando's talent, he had to, but he developed a severe contempt for the man behind the genius, the prima donna who believed his star power absolved him of all professional responsibility. Brando's inclusion at number 5 is a testament to Duvall's unwavering belief that professionalism and respect for the craft are just as important as talent. When a man as gifted as Brando trades discipline for diva antics, it earns Duvall's profound and lasting disdain. Top 6. Stanley Kubrick, the director who was an actor's enemy. It may seem counterintuitive to begin a list of actors Robert Duvall hated with a director, but the nature of Duvall's conflict with Stanley Kubrick perfectly encapsulates his entire professional philosophy. To Duvall, the director's role is to facilitate the actor's authenticity. He must be a collaborator, an artist who trusts the performers he hires to bring truth to the screen. In Duvall's mind, Stanley Kubrick was the precise opposite. He was, as Duvall famously called him, an actor's enemy. Kubrick was, and remains, a cinematic legend known for his obsessive perfectionism, his cold, intellectual distance, and his famously demanding, repetitive shooting schedules. While critics saw genius, Duvall saw a tyrannical process that fundamentally undermined the work of a sincere actor. The conflict wasn't based on a shared set. Duvall never worked with Kubrick, but rather on the director's philosophy and its visible results on screen. Duvall didn't just disagree with Kubrick. He fundamentally despised the performances Kubrick elicited from his actors. Duvall publicly savaged the work in 2 of Kubrick's most famous films, The Shining and A Clockwork Orange, calling the performances in both terrible. For Duvall, the hallmark of the method is truth. It is the spontaneous, lived reality of the character. Kubrick's method, which involved hundreds of takes and a focus on mechanical precision over emotional depth, stripped the actor of their input and their humanity. Duvall believed that by subjecting actors like Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson to grueling, repetitive psychological warfare on set, Kubrick was killing the very soul of the performance. "You've got to be spontaneous," Duvall often preached. "If you do it 50 times, it's not spontaneous, it's rote." To Duvall, the result was a cold, alienating, and ultimately false quality in the acting. He saw the performances in Kubrick's masterpieces not as intentional artistic choices, but as the tired, emotionally flattened result of a director who didn't trust his actors to be human. Robert Duvall's animosity for Kubrick was therefore not personal but professional and philosophical, an ultimate condemnation of a director who treated actors like props. By dismissing Kubrick's work as devoid of authentic human emotion, Duvall was drawing a clear line in the sand. There is the art of acting, which demands respect and autonomy, and then there is the mechanical display of cinema, which Duvall despised. It set the stage for Duvall's condemnation of other actors he felt were prioritizing spectacle and control over genuine human feeling. This deep intellectual disdain earned Kubrick the lowest, but most telling spot on Duvall's list.